Okay, it is Tuesday, June the 14th, 2022. Welcome to week number 6. This is it. This is the last lecture in this course. And the 5.5 weeks has gone by pretty fast. It's gone past with some challenges for me, as you know. I'm feeling better, but I wanted to make sure that I get you guys taken care of as well as I could. Again, I encourage you, as I've said before, please follow the rubric. Well, this is it. This is week number 6. So there's really not much for you to follow, but the key thing is that you still have enough time to get in your week 5 assignments. Your week 4 assignments, it's a little late for that because you're after the 7 days that they were due. So it's basically week 5. Those of you who haven't gotten them in, be reminded that the course ends actually coming up Friday. So I'm going to take the time to share my screen. Let's take a look at this. And okay. So this is the final time. So let's take a look at the grade book, and you can see that I've completely graded all assignments basically from weeks 1 to 4. And at week 5, I have 10 assignments to grade. 5 of you still are missing. I've finished up with the discussion post and the quiz in the live classroom lecture. So this week, we're going to deal with the discussion that is actually methadone clinics. And your initial post is due today, and your reply post is due Friday at 11:59 p.m. Notice that 6/17, that's the last day of class. But your initial posts are due today, Tuesday, at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. Your written assignment, diversion treatment and rehabilitation strategies. Then you have a final exam, which is in place of the quiz. It is timed. And one of you has completed it. I don't know which one it is, but your live classroom phrase that I'm going to give you at the end of this. So let's take a look at the course calendar for the final time. And you can see this is where we are, the 14th. And your initial post, it says it's due there. Your lecture is taking place today. It says 7, but I'm doing it earlier. And then the course ends Friday, the 17th. Absolutely Friday. No extensions. No one has qualified for an incomplete that I know of because no one's reached out to me. And if you did reach out to me now, it's probably not likely you're going to end up getting it because I haven't been given any extenuating circumstances. Your assignment for week 6 is due Friday, as well as your reply post and your key phrase. Okay, those are the things that are due for your course. So now let's go back and let's take a look at the announcement for week 6. So we're going to talk about today drug-related criminal activity, treatment and rehabilitation strategies. We've kind of been talking about that the whole term. So chapter 10 of the textbook and the PowerPoints were sent to you to help you study and prepare for your exam, as well as to help you in your written assignment. And so we're going to discuss some of the topics of treatment related to opioid addiction, and then drug treatment rehabilitation programs. Again, your discussion assignment, methadone clinics, is due tonight at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard, and reply posts Friday, June the 17th. And then your written assignment, diversion, treatment, and rehabilitation strategies, and your final exam and your key phrase will be due this Friday at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. I always remind you, pay close attention to the rubric for your written assignments, what I talk about in the lecture, and also what is in the module itself. Again, this is the final reminder that the term ends Friday, and then there's a end of quarter survey, and I have encouraged you from the beginning to be strong, and then we're at the finish line now to finish strong. And you know about my motto, adversity is the springboard to success, and now I have another chapter in it because of what happened to me with the heart attack that you guys are familiar with. But I still continue on because I enjoy my job. I like helping people, helping students. Okay, so let's take a look at the module itself. And drug-related criminal activity treatment and rehabilitation strategies. So we're going to talk about the assignment, the discussion, then I'm not going to open up the final exam because you'll see it. It's a 1 hour exam timed, as you know. All right, so let's get to talking about the written assignment first. So for the final time, I remind you to use the fact pattern that involves Dave's life circumstances. All right, and so this week you're going to deal with the following issues. You can summarize the type of treatment programs that are available for addiction treatment. We've talked about quite a few during the whole term. I'll mention a little bit more tonight. Explain what type of program you would recommend for Dave. Locate a current example for each of the strategies below, and explain how these strategies will deal with addiction and at the same time reduce recidivism. As you know, that's one of the key things that we want to do, is to adversely affect recidivism, that is causing people to be repeat offenders, so that you can get off of that I call the gerbil wheel, that we actually move people from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock on the clock, which I've talked about continuously during the course of this semester, this term, this quarter. So you're going to talk about the diversion strategy. I've given you some information about that. And then today I'm going to provide you with one more that you can have for deflection, and that's the Chicago Police Department program. I gave you the Illinois program, and then you were familiar with the Angel program that was discussed last week in the module. The treatment strategy, the rehabilitation strategy, determine how Dave would benefit from each of the examples of those three strategies. Identify any additional resources that might be needed because of mental health addiction. Remember, it says provide at least one credible source. I already said this before. Don't just give me one. Give me citations in the body of your paper. It is a 2-page paper, 2 double space, not single space paper, with a cover page and with a separate reference page. And remember, if you don't satisfy the 2-page minimum requirement, the rubric will cause me to take away a lot of points because of the box that I have to use. Please submit your assignments as a Microsoft Word document. Again, APA, double spaced, Roman 12, cover page, properly formatted, reference page. Remember, citations in the body and references at the end. Okay, let's take a look at the module, and the module supports what I just said. Let's look at the rubric rather. And so, exemplary. Remember, if you don't have citations and sources, it's going to be incomplete or inaccurate. And you're going to make sure, though, that you do support that with that. Exemplary summary of treatment programs. The diversion strategy, with a thorough explanation on how the strategy will treat addiction and reduce recidivism. A current example, I've given you one, but I'm going to give you one more tonight. Treatment strategy for how to treat addiction and reduce recidivism. And then rehabilitation, the strategy to help an individual get from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And then the benefits today. I want to know about that. Tell me about that. Make sure you have credible APA sources cited in your paper. So sources, not source, sources. And it must be 2 pages. No errors in spelling, grammar, and punctuation. All right. Again, as I said, if you don't end up with 2 pages, which double space, you're going to end up over here with those points. All right. Remember, the reason why many of you score lower is because you do not follow the instructions that I give during the lecture as well as what's in the module. The methadone clinics, which we'll talk about tonight. So you're going to read this information, and for your first post, conduct some research about the pros and cons of methadone, which we'll talk about. For your first post, argue one side regarding whether methadone clinics are appropriate. Be sure to discuss community support regarding methadone and law enforcement programs. Be sure to support your comments with detailed information and then reply to a second student. Okay. Again, your initial post is due tonight. Your reply post is due Friday. And then your final exam. Okay. And then your live classroom recording will be here, which I will give the link and I'll email it to you, along here with your classroom phrase. So we're going to spend time talking about these 2 issues here. Treatment challenges related to opioid addiction. And then we're going to conclude with drug treatment and rehabilitation programs. All right, so now, as you have discovered from your viewing of an extensive video, Chasing the Dragon, that we did last week, and also from the lectures that we've had, opioid addiction is devastating. And people have all kinds of challenges that they find themselves having to deal with. Um, Opioid addiction can adversely affect your social relationship, your and present a lot of challenges. You will find yourself operating um, under the control of that drug, and that drug will tell you what to do, when to do, how to do things. And that as a result of that drug, you can find yourself in situations where you don't have a free will anymore. The drug controls every decision that you make in life. It will cause you to do bad things to your own family members, and then make you extremely sick. And it has such devastating effects that it adversely affects your family, uh, and oftentimes it results in death. And yes, we've talked about using Narcan or Noxalone to arrest the effects of opioid addiction. However, as you have discovered uh, from what we've talked about in the past, as well as the video Chasing the Dragon, that there are times when it's too late and people lose their lives at early age. And you don't want to do anything except get high. That's your whole life. You don't have any concept of self-esteem anymore, and you ultimately will end up either in jail because you're committing crimes to support the habits, or you're going to end up in the morgue. And it's very devastating. Opioid addiction is so tragic that it reaches the stage where once you begin to get hooked on these things, your body craves for more and more and more, and it's very relentless with this. And that, um, um, as it says here, the body develops an increasingly higher tolerance for the drug, which results in the need for a higher and higher dose to get the same effect. And you know what happens? Ultimately, you OD because of the fact that you're trying to reach a certain level of high, which that's why it's called Chasing the Dragon. Tonight, Chasing the Heroin is a video that we're not going to take time because it's a 2-hour video, but you can take time to look at it yourself. And then once you get caught on this stuff, then you're going to end up dealing with um, uh, body changes, um, restlessness, muscle and bone pain, insomnia, diarrhea, vomiting, cold flashes, and sweating. And so what happens is that because you don't go, those are called withdrawal pains. And because of the fact that you don't want to go through that, what you ultimately end up doing is you end up either doing one of two things. You find yourself seeking treatment for methadone. Now, I'm not a fan of methadone because methadone is an additive that is a drug that is addictive, and people have to go to the clinic to get that to exist. And there are clinics all over in urban areas where individuals can obtain the methadone. Now, the methadone allows you to operate for a limited period of time, but you have to keep going back. In other words, for the rest of your life, you're still at the mercy of this methadone. And when you go and you work in employment and you take a drug test, methadone can be traced. So it doesn't eliminate the possibility either of using other opioids. So I called it a Band-Aid solution to a problem. The worst thing that can happen to you with aside from that is taking more and more methadone, I mean more and more opioids till you overdose and you just pass away. Now, methadone, all it does is it postpones the hard work of going through the withdrawals that I just described. And it doesn't really take away help you recover. It's just like when you take Tylenol for pain, you have to go back and take some more because it wears off. Well, the same thing with methadone. So when taking methadone, while it says here that a person is not abusing opioids, but their commitment to recovery doesn't exist because of the fact that you just know you got your friend now, methadone, that you can turn to for relief. And it's very, 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 very bad. If you miss it, you fall back. In intensive counseling, attending meetings, getting a sponsor, and building a support network are all postponed. And over 70% of the people relapse in opioid use after they stop using methadone. So it's a stopgap measure. And as you do research, you'll discover. You can take a look at this video, Chasing Heroin, which is similar to the one that you saw. It's almost 2 hours. It's longer than the one that we looked at. But it reminds you of the devastating effects that you find that you will face as an individual when you get into the using of opioids. And specifically, this deals with heroin. Now, remember, the way you end up getting the heroin is you start out sometimes innocently with painkillers, and the painkillers don't satisfy you, so you increase the painkillers. That doesn't do it. Your body tolerance builds up, and then you move to something higher. And ultimately, you find yourself stuck with heroin. And that's when we get to the point where we lose people. And, I told you the story about Tim Ryan. Uh, you know, I still recommend that book. I shared it with you, and I recommended that you can get that book, and you can read about what happens there to individuals who find themselves dealing with that. It's From Dope to Hope: A Man in Recovery. And it's available, as I said before, it's on Amazon, and you can get a paperback as well as a Kindle version of it. But you can read about and learn the effects of opioids and the drugs. I guess the thing that you really should ask yourself after looking at this as a criminal justice professional, and you're surely going to come into contact with people who are addicts. Remember, we've got these deflection programs, which I'll be talking about in the next section, that recognize that this is not a criminal issue. This is a health crisis. and that people commit crimes to support their drug habits. That's why it's called drugs and crimes. And so this course helps to get you to think about this kind of activity. And then ask yourself, oftentimes, as a person in criminal justice, how did they get there? 9 times out of 10, you're going to find out that somewhere lurking in there is drug usage. You're going to find that out. During my long career as a criminal defense lawyer, as a police officer, the 4 years I saw and learned so much about how the drugs, cocaine, crack cocaine, and heroin can just devastate the life of people. So your role is to understand and be sensitive to the fact that you're going to have to be a counselor to help some of these people. So let's look at how a lot of people find themselves stuck in such a situation where they need to have someone accountable to, and that there is no cookie cutter way of dealing with individuals who are on drugs. There are several types of programs. You have inpatient programs that can last at a treatment facility for 6 to 12 months. But people stay there. And the programs can help change in a highly structured setting that some people need. But as you recall from one of the individuals that was involved in chasing the dragon, even that didn't help the individual. One of the things that you really find yourself having to deal with is getting your will back on track to fight off what I call the demons of these drugs. Then there are short-term residential programs, which are about roughly 30 days. But just remember, it takes only a minute or a second to get hooked. After that, it's almost like a lifetime to free you of the effects of taking these drugs. And we could do everything we can. We can educate, we can get employment, we can do everything. But if we don't get to the heart of the matter, the thing that is causing the person to be in that shape, then it's all about nothing. There's group counseling that's used, as well as individual counseling, to help provide some form of reinforcement as individuals seek recovery. But be rest assured, it is not as easy. Let me tell you, losing weight is difficult. Getting off of drugs, if you can take losing weight and multiply it by probably 1,000, you probably still won't even have the amount of will that it takes to get people off. So there are various programs, such as Alcoholics Anonymous has a 12-step program, which we're going to talk about as we conclude, to help individuals to deal with this. And it's important that you have some form of peer support. You'll probably even get angry at the advice that's given to you by the individuals who are assigned to try to help you. You may even look at them as your enemy. but in reality, they are not. So it talks about for opioid addiction, medication-assisted treatment with methadone, as I talked about, bupropion or extended release uh, naloxone play a role in dealing with these disorders. But just remember that there's nothing that is greater than just saying no and not doing it at all. And so it's absolutely critical and absolutely important for you to understand and recognize that this is something that is problematic for everyone who gets caught in. So it's suggested that this 12-step program is just an idea, but the framework is here used for Alcoholics Anonymous, but it's also something that involves helping persons who are addicts. So you got to first of all admit that you're powerless, that you're powerless, and that your life is out of control and is unmanageable. You have to admit that first. A person who's, and if you paid close attention, one of the indicators of individuals who are on drugs is denial, denying that they actually have a problem. Oh, I can control things. Oh, I'm doing just fine. That's denial. But their lives are, as it says, unmanageable. Two, come to believe that there's a power greater than yourself that can help you. I call him God. Some people call him other names. But the point of the matter is that you have to place your life in the hands of whatever that power that is greater than us to help you restore sanity, because um, it's quite evidently clear that individuals who take drugs, and if you saw some of the things that people did, if you remember, people used toilet water, people took rainwater, they took dirty water. People would just about die from overdoses and be in the hospital, and they'd have their drug dealer to come in and intravenously, with the IVs that are in their arms, take the tubes out and shoot them up with drugs. That's insanity. And so your sanity needs to be restored. Make a decision to turn over your will to the care of God as you understand him, or whoever that you understand. The point of the matter is you have to take that and recognize that you're not capable. It's just like a little bitty baby is not capable of taking care of themselves. So they need someone stronger or greater than them. They call those parents oftentimes. Well, you find yourself in a situation where it's an unseen force that is referred to in this scenario as God. Make a searching and fearless moral inventory of yourselves. Reminds me of a passage, and I have to bring the Bible into this. It says, let a man examine themselves. Let us look at the man in the mirror. You're familiar with that through the great Michael Jackson's song. Look at the man in the mirror. Look at the image of the person that is the problem, and recognize that you have to not be blaming it on anybody else. People will offer it to you, but you have a choice to say no. We know just say no is not an easy thing, but I'm just telling you, those are things that you'll have to go back on, and you have to be stronger than that thing that's calling you, called the drug. Admit it to God, to yourself, and to a human being, other humans, that you've made mistakes. accept responsibility for your mistakes, and begin to allow yourself to be moved from 12 o'clock to 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock with 180 and going in a new direction in your life, and have a new lifestyle, new friends, new places to go, associates. Number six, um, we're really entirely ready to have God or that force remove those defects of character, because it is a defect of character that cause you to do those things that you can see people dying, but you still do it. You saw yourself dying. You were rescued by Noxalone or Narcan, yet you still go back and you keep playing Russian roulette with your life until ultimately you run out of time. Humbly ask him to remove your shortcomings. Make a list of all the persons you've harmed. Now that's a good one. Become a person who makes amends to all of them. One of the first things you do is allow them to direct you to the help that you need and to continue to guide you. Don't don't try to, as they say, lie to them or deceive them, because it's going to backfire on you, as you saw in the movie. Make direct amends whenever possible so that you won't re-injure those individuals. Number 10, continue to self-examine yourself, personal inventory, and keep reminding yourself, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Number 11, prayer, meditation, whatever you do. Some people have yoga, some conscious contact with God, or whatever you want to call it, uh, asking for knowledge of his will or something good for you, and give you the strength and power to be able to say no and carry out a more better lifestyle for yourself. And then finally, after you've had that spiritual awakening, remember, it's not for a day, it's not for a two, it becomes a lifestyle. So you try to carry the message to others and to practice these principles in your life. Show yourself as a living example. And so this is a suggestion of one of the programs. Okay. So with this course, the key thing is to go a new way in life. Find yourself, that you don't fall back into ruts, or find yourself in situations where you're just stuck and going nowhere, where your life is out of control. We're losing young people every day. The, the crime level keeps going up. Families are being devastated. Children lose their parents at an early age, little kids. And then parents that are older are burying their teenagers and 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds. I'm 72. I'm not supposed to be burying my children. They're supposed to be burying me. But drugs change that. And so it's important for you to understand that. Well, that's all I have for today. Again, I'll send you an email with another diversion technique from the Chicago Police Department. Again, this has been a pleasure to teach you. I hope that you understand the real reason why you're in this course is to prepare you or give you a peek into the experiences that you are inevitably going to face. I've had students who've had this course and years later they say, Professor Wright, all the stuff that we talked about, I thank you for sharing because it kind of got me in the state of mind that, at first I want to just lock people up, and no, you don't want to just lock them up. You want to get the help. That's why you are going to be part social worker, caseworker, and those kinds of things. So even if you're a correction officer, you're still going to have the same thing. Certainly if a probation and parole officer, you're going to find yourself in that scenario as well. So I want to wish you guys the best. Oh yeah, I got to give you a key phrase, right? All right, I'm going to give you one on the topic that I'm not that excited about, but I'll give it to you anyway. And one of the things that's used in terms of dealing with individuals who are addicted, and that's to opioids and heroin. It's called methadone. Give me methadone for your points. Okay, so take care of yourself. I wish you guys the best. Hope I see you in terms to come. Let's see, this summer I'm going to be teaching criminal law. I'm going to be teaching as well corrections. I will be teaching contemporary issues in criminal justice as well. So I hope to see many of you further down the road. Just remember, what you've learned here is one, to understand the world of drugs and the effect it has on crime, but also following instructions and directions, which is something that's going to be something, if you're good at, you're going to succeed in higher levels in your life in the future. All right, I'm going to say good evening. Take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you again. Bye.